Lovely. Very efficient. Anyway, good morning. Today is Tuesday, November 10th at 9:06. Yes, 9:06 a.m. I'll call the meeting to order. I'll start by introducing the board members who are here. We're expecting Tam Doduk. She'll be here presently. On my left is Dee Adamo. On my right is Stephen Moore. And Mr. Howard isn't here. He too will be late. So I will, Jonathan, since I haven't seen you for a while, why don't you see if you can remember who the staff are?
Yes, well, to my left is Chief Counsel Michael Loffer. To my right is Chief Deputy Director Karen Turkovich.
He had to look over.
Yeah, I have to remember who you were.
Turn the sign around. So
And assisting us today is Janine Townsend and Courtney Davis. Courtney, right? That's the name.
Thank you very much. The emergency evacuation procedures haven't changed. Find your exit. If there's a bell, take all your stuff, go outside, go across the street to catty corner, across the street to Cesar Chavez Park until the all clear sign, and come back. And except I think we'll be finished by then, so there you may not have to worry. This meeting is being webcasted and recorded, so please speak into the microphone if you are doing a presentation, and turn off cell phones and beepers for the meeting. Now we have public forum. Are there any cards? There are no cards, so we'll move on. We have a quorum of 3, so do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Board member reports. Let's start with Stephen.
Okay, sure. This past couple of weeks is busy as usual. I'll note a couple of items. I attended on November 13th the Drinking Water Reorganization Task Force, where staff of our agency and Department of Public Health are sharing information on combining the drinking water functions into one agency, and we covered emergency response issues, operator certification issues, and the fee structures, as Liz Haven is leading this effort as a director of transitions. And I would just say it's a very constructive dialogue, and I certainly learned a lot. It was very helpful to learn about the structures in these areas, and that effort is ongoing, and other board members will attend, and Chair Marcus also attended this meeting on November 13th. Second, on Friday, November 15th, I attended a tour for the Central Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board at the Elkhorn Slough National Estuarine Research Reserve. It's also was attended by that organization as well as the Elkhorn Slough Foundation. We covered a wide range of issues with the science of estuarine nutrient fate and transport. Elkhorn Slough is one of the highest levels of nitrate of any estuary in the United States. The Salinas River watershed is the main source. We also met in the field to learn about the interface between agriculture and the estuary, and some cooperative efforts between Ocean Mist, who met us there on site, and the Elkhorn Slough Foundation. So it was it was good to see partnership on the ground. And then finally, we went over a lot of different the research in wildlife and also water quality that they're performing, and other estuaries around the state could learn from the scientific developments there in Elkhorn Slough. A lot of real-time monitoring of nitrate, for instance. And then finally, on Sunday this week, the 17th, I attended the Marin Watershed Forum. It's a new effort in Marin County, and a guest speaker there was Mitch Avalon of the Contra Costa Watershed Forum, who was providing some insight into how institutionally in Marin County a similar effort could be set up that would better link the citizens of the watersheds with the local government to meet water board requirements, but also community interests in terms of water resource development. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Excuse me, we've been joined by Tam Doduk.
And the
Board
meeting
member?
is not over.
No, she thought she would get squeezed by. And Tom Howard. So we're doing reports, as you can tell. Let's go to Dee Dee, and then I'll come back to you, Tam.
Okay, just a couple. Last week I attended a regional board for Region 6 in South Lake Tahoe, and the board received an update on monitoring plans for nearshore monitoring and analysis for Lake Tahoe. And then afterwards, I went on a tour, and I've got some brochures that they asked me to pass out to staff and other board members. And took a look at several erosion control projects. This looks like the Upper Truckee River, and then the Bijou Erosion Control Project. And I asked when I was out there, lots of questions about cost and what's involved in these erosion control projects, because they're quite extensive projects. $4 million on the Bijou Erosion Control Project and $4 million on the Upper Truckee River Restoration Project. And of course, they have a lot smaller ones, but literally hundreds of erosion control projects. So they're really focused on stormwater capture, and they're finding, it was really interesting to hear. And I think that when the Tahoe plan was before us several months ago, they talked about the differences between control measures for nearshore versus the middle of the lake, and but both need to have these erosion control projects. And then yesterday, I participated in San Joaquin Valley. There was a groundwater overdraft forum put on by the American Groundwater Trust. This is in Tulare. And it was just a real exciting day to see the interest from all over the valley and outside the valley as well. Paso Robles was there. And the purpose of this forum was just for folks to hear about groundwater overdraft, what other states are doing, what California might be doing. They talked about our groundwater concept paper. There was a lot of talk about the boogeyman over at the legislature and what the legislature might do. And I really liked what Tim Quinn said. He summed things up at the end by saying, anything that could be done to you is not as bad as what you could do to yourselves through inaction. You really need to grapple with these issues and be in the driver's seat. Exactly what we're talking about, local and regional programs. So it was just a really exciting day, and I guess the question will be, what will the next steps be?
Quick question for Dee Dee. What was the name of the organization that did the erosion control projects at Lake Tahoe?
Oh, okay. Well, these are projects that that the regional board is doing.
Regional board. Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. But I will say it was interesting because on the way down today, I heard on the radio. I didn't catch the dollar amount, but that the Department of Interior is setting aside a significant amount of dollars for grant programs to do this very thing: erosion control, stormwater in the Tahoe Basin.
Great. I'll look it up on their website. Still trying to go paperless. Let's see. The San Francisco Bay Regional Water Board met last week, and I've been looking forward to this discussion because they were having, they had an agenda item, a workshop item on their priorities for next year, and it was great in some aspects and not so great in others. This is just my personal opinion. It was great in that they had all their program leaders, I guess their division chiefs, for lack of a better term, present their various programs, from TMDLs to permittings to underground storage tanks to site cleanup, and then presented the priorities within each program and the resources within each program. So it was great in that for all the board members as well as members of the public and staff who attended, you get a really good broad overview of the various programs and resources that the regional board has. It was not so good in that really get a sense of how limited their resources are, especially in what I would say are core areas like basin planning, like permitting. So that led to, again, a discussion of the boards and our programs being led by our funding sources rather than, well, I guess the funding sources also have some relation to water quality priorities, but it really is, the chicken and the egg, or the dog wagging, the tail wagging the dog, or whatever analogy you want to use, which I think is part of what we were trying to accomplish in our resource alignment effort. So that sort of triggered, in my mind, that I need to check back in with staff. Now that it's been several years, now that we've, have sort of diverted a little bit into cost of compliance, and I know we're doing an audit, but step back and keep in mind that the ultimate objective of that effort was to look at how do we direct our resources toward our priorities, and what do we need to do in order to accomplish that. And I think that really hit home for me at the regional board meeting, because I came in expecting to hear, like when we have our discussion, what the regional board priorities were. And what I heard were, here are all the programs, and here are the priorities of what they believe they can accomplish with the resources within those programs. And I appreciate why they had to do it that way. But again, it hammers home the message that we really need to keep in mind how, looking forward to the future, looking forward to underground, to groundwater management, to drinking water, and all these, big items that are coming to us. Here's an opportunity for us to step back, look ahead, and look once again, think strategically about how we align those resources to accomplish those priorities. And speaking of drinking water and groundwater, I think the vice chair, as well as Chair Marcus and I, though not all three at the same time, attended a meeting last week to discuss AB 685, the Human Right to Water law, and the one-year anniversary, and the question was asked by the convener, what have we done to accomplish that law? And the answer really was not a lot. And so I think this will, not a lot in terms of concrete accomplishments and deliberate accomplishments. Obviously, there's a lot of things that we do that relates to drinking water and the protection of beneficial uses for drinking water. Is that more acceptable, Mr. Laufer? But the environmental justice communities and others who were there really wanted us to be more active and more aggressive in trying to reach that objective. And so I think this is just the beginning of some sort of discussion and some strategic planning and further effort with respect to this area, and with respect to demonstrating some key progress in this upcoming year with respect to AB 685. Oh, said what I said there. I didn't want to dump this out on staff in public, but what I suggested at that meeting was that we would consider for each of our agenda item that appears before the board, including in the staff report, an analysis of the issue and how AB 685, or Human Right to Water, was considered in presenting and developing this issue before the board.
Thank you. And that was well received, actually. It's something we should chew on. Actually, it's something we should do, but chew on how to do it effectively. I went to 3 regional board meetings. One was the LA Ventura board meeting, where a full first 2 or 3 hours of the board meeting was spent on disadvantaged community actions that are taking place in Los Angeles area primarily, and how Shell was there. Shell Oil Company was there for the first time ever, and there was I would say, a very constructive dialogue between the board members and Shell, and about groundwater contamination in a particular area that they're working on. It was they are spending a lot of time as a board on this area. And one thing, I went to 3 board meetings. I'm just struck by how different each of the 3 boards are. But so that was kind of the flavor of that one. It was really focused on disadvantaged communities, specific ones, and the problems that they're having with groundwater. In San Diego, the primary action item was the adoption of what's called the practical vision healthy headwaters, healthy people. And this is you could call it a strategic plan, which it kind of is, but it really is in a way more than that. And they are going to be organizing their work plans and their reward system as employees to accomplishing this effort. And it has 5 areas of focus, and the board was quite excited about it. And I think we should be watching it carefully to see whether it makes a difference in terms of having measurable outcomes that the public can grasp and know that we are actually doing something. So it's an experiment. They have spent years on it. I don't think other regions will necessarily do the same thing, but there may be some things from it that we could use in other regions. And finally, I went to the Colorado region, which again is, Chris Kerrigan was there to make a presentation on the enforcement program. And there they had a report from Coachella about the integrated regional water management planning process that Coachella and I think 5 different water agencies and areas are engaged in, particularly they are funding salt nutrient planning, and they consider themselves unique among integrated regional water management areas in that they have a special chapter set aside for disadvantaged communities, and they have another chapter set aside for tribal in their IRWM plan. So they may be in the lead on this. And they honored, and I had mentioned this to Tom earlier, they honored Arthur Swajian, who was the executive officer of the region for years and years and years. His widow and 2 children came, and it was really quite nice. And they spent the whole board spent a fair amount of time thanking the family for what they had contributed to the success to the region, because they knew this. And later, one of the sons said there was rarely a meal that they had at home where sewage wasn't one of the main topics of conversation. So, and then his widow said, and even at Thanksgiving. So it was quite fun. 2 other thoughts. One is on the point that Tam was raising. I was talking with someone from a region, and this is something that I wanted to talk to Tom and to all of you about. One of the challenges of the regions working together to more efficiently do things where they share information, I'm told, is that they have a hard time contracting together on things. They each have separate budgets and codes, and so there is a sense that they can't work cross-regionally. And so I just want to make sure that that's true. If it's not true, we need to have a discussion about setting it straight, not just for the executive officers, but also for the staff, because there were several things were identified where this might be helpful. And the meeting that Stephen went to, I was talking to someone from Marin recently who said that it was, to her horror, she found that the Marin County Water Agency could not invest in watershed things using their capital budget. They had to essentially pay for it out of their revenue stream. The sort of soft investments were not considered capital investments. I'm not sure where that comes from or how, but it's definitely something that we need to pay attention to, certainly from an investment perspective and otherwise. So that's my report. Now we have one item. Let's see. We have one item, from the Division of Financial Assistance. Mr. Howard, do you want to introduce it?
Yes, this item is a proposal to provide extended term financing to all of our SRF loans. And we have Christopher Stevens is presenting.
And just so you know, we have one card.
Good morning, Vice Chair Spivey, Weber, and members of the board. Christopher Stevens, Supervising Engineer with Division of Financial Assistance. As Director Howard indicated, this resolution would direct the Executive Director to submit an application to U.S. EPA to offer extended term financing to all projects that are eligible for the Clean Water SRF program. Currently, we do this for 3 specific categories, so this would extend this to all projects. The big benefit, of course, for extended term financing is it has a dramatically reduces the annual loan service, debt service, and so this will make projects more affordable for communities and ultimately should result in a greater demand on the program as well as more projects that are completed and financed. The other thing I did want to touch on just briefly is, of course, there is a financial impact. You're slowing down the earnings of the fund a bit, but the Clean Water SRF has a very strong financial position. Part of the analysis that we do for EPA is an analysis of the financial impact, and so we've met that requirement as well. And then just did want to briefly mention that we did receive a comment from CASA, California Association of Sanitation Agencies, and they expressed their full support for the resolution as well. So I know you have a card there, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions before we go to the card? Dave, I can't see it. I'm sorry. Dave Bruns. Bruns?
Bruns.
Bruns.
Good
Bruns.
morning. Dave
B-R-U-N-S.
Bruns with the LA County Sanitation Districts. And usually, it seems too often we're here because there's a disagreement. And today we're actually here to support the staff, and we're very appreciative of the efforts that they've taken on the SRF program and the efforts to make the program affordable and something to really help water quality projects. I think a lot of times, especially as the economy has been slow to recover, we hear a lot of taxpayer grumblings about the cost of projects and why do we have to do these things and how can we afford them. And so this really goes a long way towards making projects more affordable, which I think will allow the projects to proceed more quickly and allow, especially disadvantaged communities, smaller communities, allow more projects to get built sooner and get water quality improved throughout California. So we would lend our support to the staff's recommendation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any comments from anyone on this?
I just have a comment. Wanted to say that in the briefing we talked a lot about, I had a lot of questions about what could be done going forward to provide additional incentives for wastewater recycling. And I know that you and others are also really focused on this and have a meeting coming up, so just want to express my support for that going forward.
One other thing that I would add is I learned yesterday, actually James and I learned yesterday that the Bureau has been financing some basin planning efforts around drought and flood that are in various stages of, in California, that are in various stages of completion. And we also know that there are the IRWM programs, and it was told earlier to check out the strategic plan because it apparently, the IRWM strategic plan is identifying some of the things that we're interested in, as well as and the Bureau's basin plans. And I'm thinking that it may be time to look at what kinds of planning operations and what kinds of policies are out there that have funding, like AB 32 and cap and trade, or the Energy Commission and or the CPUC and some of the energy monies. What are there some other things that are out there that we should be alert to so that we can at least give extra credit for those who are moving in multiple directions, so that $1 pays for 10 things. So I think it's time to look at what's out there, because it looks like there's a lot. And so that's my only addition. Do I hear a motion to approve the extended term financing resolution?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved, so finished. Now, Tom Howard, would you please read your Executive Director's report? We have time, I think, for you to read the whole thing.
That's great. I've waited for this opportunity for a
I do not second that motion.
So I was at the dentist, and I can hardly move my jaw, so I think it's really the right time to try to read it. The only comment I'll make is that we do have an update in the My Water Quality portal, which is very exciting, on estuary monitoring program, and yeah, we got a lot of support from a lot of groups in putting this together. The state water contractors and others were very involved in focusing on trying to get a good characterization of Delta water quality, and one that would be something that could be communicated to people. So we're going to, that's the latest one, and we'll have more coming up. And that was the only comment I had.
Any other comments? Then the meeting is adjourned.